Hello, I'm Dr. Jason Zagami, an academic on the Gold Coast in Australia at Griffith University, and it is a pleasure to share some insights into an approach to games-based learning through the GPACKS model. Essentially, this model treats games as educational technologies, offering a framework to assist in integrating gaming with teaching. In 1986, Schulman developed the PCK model. His aim was to encourage educators to align what was being taught, their content knowledge, with how it is taught, their pedagogical knowledge. Too often, topics were being taught using ineffective combinations. Drama by lecturing to students, mathematics by Socratic discussion, or a sport using an inquiry-based approach. Learning is more likely when what is taught is aligned with how it is taught. And in 2006, Mishra and Collier noticed that many educators were also having difficulties choosing the best educational technologies when they're teaching. And they expanded the PCK model to TPACK, technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge, guiding educators to consider the best technologies to use for what they are teaching and how they are teaching. And this brings us to the GPACKS model. It is an adaptation designed specifically for the gamified learning environment. It extends the TPACK framework by incorporating gaming preferences and taxonomies, aiming to optimize learning experiences by aligning games with educational content, pedagogical strategies, and students' interest. Too often, educational gaming is seen as a single concept by educators. And likewise, educational game developers often lack an understanding of the complexity of different approaches to teaching and the needs of different content subjects. At its core, the GPACKS model comprises 4 key components: a game chosen to support learning, the way the teacher teaches, the pedagogy, the content being taught, and student preferences when playing games. When all 4 of these align or intersect, the optimal conditions for learning are in place, with one additional factor: the teacher's contextual knowledge of other elements that may be important, such as current events, student demographics, and a myriad of other aspects of a classroom environment that a teacher may need to consider when considering what games, pedagogy, and content to combine. Now let's dive into each of these in turn. Games are of course used in education, but they can go far beyond just the playing of the game. It is about leveraging games and game design elements to create engaging and educational experiences for students. For example, using a point system for classroom management, often referred to as gamification, can help some students, or a narrative-based game that is used to make a reading about history more enlivened. But there are also increasing opportunities to repurpose commercial games or specifically designed games for educational. And there are many opportunities existing now to support learning through the use of these games. But many educators think of computer games as a single concept, missing the opportunities afforded by the wide variety of game genres, which enable the selection of games to suit many different teaching approaches and many different content areas. Now, the pedagogy component of GPACKS focuses on the educational strategies that can be enhanced through the use of games and gamification. Whether it is through using game characters and settings to write short stories, or collaborative quests in a language class that enable students to explore the context of the language they're learning beyond just the instructional strategies being employed. Or solo puzzles in a mathematics class, leveraging the competitive processes of rapid problem solving. Or students making a game as a design project. Gamification and gaming can support a wide range of different pedagogical approaches, the ways that teachers go about teaching. Now, the content is what is being taught. Often this is prescribed in curriculums, but to a large extent, teachers can decide the approach to the engagement with this content. Content alignment with pedagogy and with any games being used is crucial. The games chosen must reinforce the educational material that students are engaging with, not distract from it. And it must likewise support the way a class is being taught, not make this more difficult. So imagine using a game like Civilization, where students explore world history, and the teacher has directly linked the game mechanics to curriculum goals, where students role play the various leaders that they have played in the game, using records of the game play to give talks on how their civilization developed and progressed, and writing the official history of their civilization. but then comparing their history with that generated as the historical record by other students who played the game from different perspectives, and using this understanding to compare to why real life narratives about historical events often differ, because they were written from different perspectives, often for different purposes. Now, lastly, student preferences are pivotal. Understanding students' preferences or gamer types can provide you as an educator with far deeper insight into why students are playing the game, or at least how they are playing the game. Whether they are motivated by new things and applying what they have learned, and in this taxonomy, they would be classified as scientists. Yeah. Or do they prefer controlling and creating environments as strategists? Or is their motivation seeking repetitive pleasure and feedback, habitualists? Or do they seek the security of controlled environments? Then they would be soloists. Or do they enjoy getting ahead by adapting to people and being involved in complex machinations with other players as politicians? Or is their focus connecting to others as socialites? Or is their motivation being recognized for their achievements, collecting badges, etc., as collectivists? And of course, there are those who seek to gain respect by beating others, defined as competitors. Now, students are often more than one of these taxonomies, but by understanding your students' motivations in playing games, you can help tailor the learning experience to these students' preferences and boost their engagement and their motivation for learning. Now, implementing the GPACKS model involves selecting games that meet educational objectives. This process is critical and requires a deep understanding of games, teaching, content, and learners. But when these align, opportunities for learning are improved. Now let's look at a couple of final examples. A middle school class using a puzzle game to enhance their spatial reasoning skills in mathematics. The game's levels are matched to curriculum complexity, offering immediate feedback and adaptive challenges. The result? Improved test scores and heightened interest in the subject. In this example, students are role-playing various leaders in the lead-up to World War I and exploring the various factors leading to the war through an inquiry-based approach. And finally, students exploring simulations of various environments and the effects of possible changes that they make on this simulation, progressing through a problem-solving cycle to propose various solutions and then test those solutions, often failing to develop effective solutions, but using that failure process to motivate them to make changes to their simulation based on what they have learned from their failures, improve their solution, test it again, and ideally fail again in an improvement cycle. This is something that games do incredibly effectively. It's at the fundamental process of most games and game-based learning. But the opportunities for iterative improvement are extremely rare in education. Even in subjects where the design process is fundamental, the time available to allow students to progress through an iterative design cycle, ideally several times, is lacking. But games and game-based approaches provide that opportunity. So the benefits of the GPACK model are clear. Increased engagement, personalized learning and teaching, and more seamless integration of fun and education. So in conclusion, the GPACKS model offers a robust framework for educators looking to incorporate gamified and game-based learning into their teaching strategies. And by aligning games with pedagogical goals, course content, and student interests, we can create more engaging, effective, and enjoyable learning experiences. So thank you for your attention, and I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, or experiences with making decisions around game-based learning.